more than fine. And unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas, having it to see and listen to remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. So we have been studying as our practice period focus and theme the Lotus Sutra. I brought my show and tell. The Lotus Sutra. You get lots of good Buddha merit across lifetimes. Owen Ellis is here too. If you hear, recite, copy, touch. Here, you want to touch it? No. we're clearly into mystical land here. And the Lotus, and here's stories of the Lotus Sutra, because there's lots of stories in the Lotus Sutra, and this same translator, Gene Reeves, pulls them forward and does commentary that makes it quite digestible. And Thich Nhat Hanh's commentary, Opening the Heart of the Cosmos, Insights on the Lotus Sutra, which is our primary text, which I'm going to call on today, and it's got a new name that it's been published under, but I can't remember what it is, but you'd figure it out if you looked. We are coming to a very exciting turning point in the Lotus Sutra. And I was thinking, my mind, oh dear. TV, you know, when you're in a series and you show up every week and then they give you a little review about what happened to catch you up. So that's what I'm going to try to do a little bit here today, because we've got a couple of new people, and because if you're anything like me, it's always really helpful to get regrounded in time and space. I was thinking, Suzuki Roshi, I was thinking, because you practiced at Spirit Rock and other people have too, is that what we do, we being Zen and in this tradition, is Hinayana practice with Mahayana mind. So Theravadan practice with Mahayana mind. Earth. We have been in the earth, the historical dimension, as Thich Nhat Hanh describes it, of the Lotus Sutra. Parables, stories that really resonate and touch with our own life stories, and that encourage us to pay attention, to be here, to be mindful in this body, in this earth, on this world. Don't skip that part. And now, Mahayana, which brings forward the archetype of the Bodhisattva, and also the Mahayana Sutras. I was thinking, I wonder if they teach Mahayana Sutras at Spirit Rock. I've tracked Spirit Rock for years, but I wonder if they do. Some of the big Mahayana Sutras are really fantastical. And not everybody loves these, but I love them. The Lotus Sutra, now, we've been getting lots of hints along the way, is going to just continue to take us into vast realms of time, beyond time and space. That is happening simultaneously. It doesn't mean leaving your body. It doesn't mean dissociating. It means simultaneously being right here and realizing on a cellular level. Well, part of me wants to say that what we think is going on is about this big. And it's so much more than anything we can ever figure out or grasp. And it gives us images to play in. And of course, what happens, probably, is that our minds go, our linear thinking minds go, oh, come on. children don't have any trouble moving between these realms, beginner's mind. I don't have any trouble moving between these realms or sitting in the midst of them without, because the minute you start to cognize, you start categorizing, and there's a star out there and I'm over here. But you sit under the night sky, for goodness sakes. You watch a sun, you give yourself to a sunrise or a sunset. Try to make it small. And we have scientific mind, you know. I mean, that's beautiful too. Track it on that level if that's the way your mind works. But also always know you're in the midst of mystery and wonder. And especially, it's very helpful in this really awful time where we are so acutely aware of suffering on the earth. And what can I do? I feel powerless. So much suffering is to simultaneously be aware of that we're all held in this amazing cosmos breath. It gives a different ground to sit in, different ground to ground in, so that then instead of we sit down when we stand up, instead of standing up and going, oh my God, I got to do something, oh my God, I can't do anything, I'm just, it's like angry. As you stand up and you take a breath, and you feel completely here in this body, meeting the world meeting you, and then we see what happens next and how we can be of service. And it may be something big you could do, or it may just be feel your feet on the earth, take the next step, and be kind to the person next to you. Bodhisattva vow. This is Bodhisattva vow. It's a vow to be here with and for all beings. And because we're more than a little self-centered, I'll talk about myself. You might notice that there's an inclination for that to set, especially when we get scared or overwhelmed, to self-center, which is we all got a self. We're not getting over it. We need things like zazen and sangha and dharma and practice and teachings to help us remember. Just remember, it's so much bigger than we think. And that we need the whole world to help us enact the vow of saving and being saved by all beings. Okay. Now I haven't even started what I was going to say, and this is so... Constance is going to talk a little bit about this next phase of the jeweled stupa next week, and we have a sitting coming up in November 12th, and I want to, this chapter and the chapter of the Bodhisattvas rising up out of the earth I think are the two kind of pivotal chapters, so we'll do the best we can today, and then we'll come back to it. Oh, can you get a picture of the two Buddhas together in the stupa and send it to Ellen to put on the website and Shelley? Yeah. Yeah. Because I was remembering today, I mean, besides, it's a really famous image that you can find in museums, but it's also enacted in the Shuso ceremony when the teacher says to the Shuso, would you please share my seat? And there's also some place in here, which I won't pull forward specifically, where the Buddha taps you or rubs you on the top of your head, and in Zen, in Dharma transmission, when you get acknowledged as a teacher, that actually gets enacted, which is really sweet and beautiful. So there's these little things, that kind of like dribble through into what we do, that acknowledge the Lotus Sutra is revered all over the Asian world, and Dogen revered the Lotus Sutra. I have written here, Dogen says the use of the fantastic, for Dogen, the use of the fantastic, the use of parables and playful imagery, the omnipresence of the Buddha's potential in the ground of concrete particulars, this is Dogen's teaching. Lots of times you think, Dogen can get pretty fantastical, and you just think it's weird. No, excuse me, I'm sure you don't. but he's bouncing off of the Lotus Sutra. For Dogen, the core of his teaching is the whole world and its components are the vital functioning of awakening. The whole world. Completely. I'm not going to... What is waking up anyway? But there's no place to get to where you're going to be more awake than right now. It's already awake, and we're waking up in the midst of awakening. And now, because Constance told the story on Tuesday of the conjured city about the pilgrims on their way to the treasure. What is the treasure? Well, this is so now. We have the arising of the abundant treasure stupa. But just a little more backing up. We have been, like I said, on the earth, more or less, in the sutra. And what we have been being taught is that exists the reason from Shakyamuni Buddha, the reason for the existence of the entire world and everything in it. Are you ready? Do you want to know? Ready? What's all this about anyway? Is for the awakening of all beings. For everyone to wake up to the Buddhas and their own Buddha nature that they already are. It's the one great causal condition of everything. And there are infinite skillful means and different ways to access it. There are different schools of Buddhism. There are different religions. There are different belief systems. There are different, might be feeding the homeless. It might be washing your dish with care. The whole world is full of infinite. The whole world wants us to wake up because that's what it already is. So everything is helping us. And you may or may not like the way it's helping you. I just wanted it to be nicer, or wow, I thought it was just all going to feel like love, and it is all love, but it's not always comfortable. And our job is to embody this through the Bodhisattva path, to become a Buddha, to see each person as Buddha, which to me mirrors Norman Fisher's original admonition in founding Everyday Zen, is humility, to see each person as Buddha, and to be of service. So what is that? What is that? And there's you're never going to land on it and say, aha, I finally got it. It's a koan. It's ongoing. Okay, so then there's a whole chapter in here which I had actually never really paid attention to. That's why it's fun to go back, which makes me just think it's like everything. The word respect, the root word of respect, is the same as the root word, has a root word of to look again. You just keep looking again and again. And so the Lotus Sutra, there's a whole chapter on being a Dharma teacher, which mostly I just kind of wanted to ignore because whatever. But it's the first time the Lotus Sutra addresses a bodhisattva. I mean, really speaks to the bodhisattva, and it's Bodhisattva Medicine King. And the main message of it is that always before we thought bodhisattvas were great beings. I mean, they are, like Avalokiteshvara and Manjushri, and they're big shining beings, and they're really beautiful archetypes. I love this stuff, and we've covered them before, and I'm sure we will again. But I think this is the very first time where we really are told that bodhisattvas are us. And it's relational. It happens in relational. In relation, everyone can be a bodhisattva for everybody else. Is a bodhisattva for everybody else, as well as the bees and the trees and the bugs and the mosquitoes and the suffering that we think is over there. Sure is helping wake us up. So the treasure is both near and far. It's right here. And it takes work and intention, but it's joyful work. And it's ongoing, continuous practice, intention. So here's, this is, I love the simile I had never really focused on before in this chapter called Digging for Water. And again, I think I said last time with the parable of the plants, Suzuki Roshi, that beautiful phrase, it's like walking through a light fog or rain. It's like walking through a light rain and getting wet all the way through. I just think Suzuki Roshi was so steeped in this, in the same way Dogen is. The more you study these things, the more you just realize, that's a jump off from this sutra, or that's a jump off from this or that. And it just gets more vast and wonderful and kind of amazing. So here it is, a bodhisattva, let's see. A bodhisattva who has not practiced with this sutra, the Lotus Sutra, is like an extremely thirsty person digging for water in the earth. If it's seasonally dry ground, a long way from awakening, and sometimes doesn't it just feel that way? Like your life is just dry, and you show up for Zazen, and you're just like, okay, I'm here. Or maybe you don't show up for Zazen, or I'm trying to be nice, but it just doesn't feel juicy. Or maybe I even forgot to try to be nice, or, yeah, we all have. Honesty is really helpful. But if you keep digging, continuous practice, you just keep showing up. You just keep bowing with your heart and mind, even when you just sometimes think this is so dumb, I have no idea what this practice thing is or what I'm doing, or just wherever you are, that's it, it's just you just keep going, you just keep digging. And you eventually begin to see damp earth and then blood. And you're getting closer to the water. And you're encouraged to keep digging until you reach the water. But it says here, and in the sutra, that actually the dampness itself is the water. You just begin to get some feeling of being wet in a way that you don't understand, but something is soaking in. It's the same world, but it's different. And this chapter says that after the Buddha dies, the Buddhas will be in other lands. It's like, don't worry, the Shakyamuni Buddha isn't here. Shakyamuni Buddha is in another land, and there are Buddhas everywhere, and there always have been. And Buddha mind will always be conjuring up and dispatching various other people and creatures to hear and teach the Lotus Sutra. In its essence of what it is. So don't worry. There will always be Buddhas here to see. And it happens through the Dharma. The Dharma, the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, the teachings of Buddhism, the teachings of, not because they're special teachings that are better than any other teachings, but the teachings of essentially Buddha nature, which is basic goodness, which is love, is the most important thing. It's not because one person came along and said it. It's really important that one person came along and said it. But it's what's being said that each one of us can taste and know in our own bodies and hearts and minds, because everybody has Buddha nature. And the true body of the Buddha is the Dharma body, which is the entire world is Buddha's body. See, I don't know if you, I love this stuff. To me, it's like walking in a deep forest or feeling the moon rise, or it just gives a certain kind of poetic language to our experience of just being fully, deeply alive. Okay. So now we're going, finally, I thought this morning, how am I going to do this? I still don't know how I'm going to do it, but I thought maybe what I would just do, because it's a kind of longer story, and that I'm going to just read and comment from Thich Nhat Hanh, and we'll see how we do. And like I said, we'll come back to it again. So, but it's the description is that this is a description in poetic images, profound ideas that couldn't be explained in ordinary language. Like Constance brought forward in her talk, it's not linear. And it's really, really important. Use linear mind when you got it. You do not want a nurse that does not have linear mind. But you also want a nurse who's also a healer, who can walk in and feel the room and the person and the pulses, and I mean in whatever way you may, the pulsing of the world. Okay. So, the Buddha taught the one vehicle, the one causal condition, and affirmed the potential of Buddhahood for all beings. And when that happened, music filled the air and a fine voice said, this is in the present moment, in this past moment, which is right here. A voice says, "Wonderful Shakyamuni Buddha, you are teaching the Lotus Sutra. How wonderful." And you know where this voice came from? Don't you want to know? It emanated from a huge jeweled stupa, 500 yojanas high and 250 yojanas wide. You could just imagine, infinitely big, adorned with the 7 precious materials, including gold, silver, pearls, and gems that rose from the earth and floated in the sky above Mount Girhartutka, where the assembly had gathered to hear the Dharma. It's amazing. Can you imagine? You're just sitting here with the Buddha kind of minding your own business, and all of a sudden, up out of the earth, let's notice that, it comes up out of the earth. This marvelous image symbolizes the appearance of the ultimate dimension in the Saha samsaric world of suffering. The realm of no birth and no death suddenly appears in the world of birth and death, which is just like you're just going along in the world of birth and death. And there's just this opening where something kind of luminous opens for a moment. And it does kind of like sometimes just, you almost glimpse it out of the corner of your eye. Was that really real? What? But you also simultaneously know there's something true here that's... So the Sangha has gathered on Vulture Peak. Their feet are on the earth and they are in the historical dimension. This is really important. They see their teacher, Shakyamuni. They see that they are among a great assembly of disciples. They are in the realm of reality that we normally perceive, subject to past, present, and future. Suddenly, with the appearance of the jeweled stupa, everyone is simultaneously transported from the realm of history into the ultimate nature of reality, where there is no time and space. There's a book which I don't know where it went. It has to be on my bookshelf, but Dan Layton, Taigen Dan Layton, wrote a beautiful book about the Lotus Sutra in time and space. That when I first started practicing with the Lotus Sutra, I think it's the only book that I've read maybe 6 times. I just kept reading it over and over because I couldn't understand what he was talking about or the Lotus Sutra was talking about, but I knew it was really important. So be timeless time and space. From the world of relative phenomena, we are able to touch the absolute, and this recognition brings, this is interesting language, brings about a powerful vibration, something like an electric shock. I think it's cellular. Those who have learned the art of mindfulness and or Zazen mind are finely tuned and are able to receive this vibration. So there's something subtle here. It's a more subtle body-mind that you do know through Zazen. You do know and taste through longer retreats. It's a more subtle body-mind. The ultimate goal of our practice and study is to be able to touch the true nature of reality with our mindfulness, or heartfulness, or presence. Just this. Little by little, it becomes more steady and solid. You begin to get wet all the way through. And you don't know what happened. You don't know how to make it happen. But something does happen. That's really nothing happening because you can't grasp it. And then the ultimate dimension of reality will appear more and more clearly to us right here and now in the historical realm, the world of appearances. So naturally, everybody who's here in the Lotus Sutra and here, Mount Giridharakuta, is amazed. And so on behalf of everybody, the Bodhisattva Great Joy in Teaching, Mahapratipana, asked Shakyamuni, who is speaking from that stupa? And the Buddha smiles. Think about a Buddha smile. A Buddha smile. And said, that is the Buddha Parhutaratna, many jewels. Oh, jewels. When he was a bodhisattva, he made a vow that at any time in the future, at any place where the Buddha appeared to teach the Lotus Sutra, he would present himself and utter words of praise. Which we could imagine that might be happening right now, right here. It's just maybe our bodies aren't subtle enough to really be able to hear that this is all happening and has been happening. Before this, the people in the assembly had known only one Buddha. Everybody thought Shakyamuni Buddha. That's the dude. This is the guy. This is the teacher. What are we going to do if Shakyamuni's not here? Shakyamuni did it. We can do it. I mean, you need Shakyamuni Buddha. But learning of the existence of Prabhutaratna, they want to see this Buddha of the ultimate dimension. Suddenly it's like, oh, there's Shakyamuni Buddha, but maybe Shakyamuni Buddha is pointing at something bigger that completely includes this embodiment. And they implored Shakyamuni, dear teacher, please use your magical power to open the door of the stupa so that we can see Prabhutaratna. And the Buddha said, if you want this to happen, it is possible to do this if I call back all my transformation bodies. So he said, I don't think I can quite do this by myself, what you're asking for, because it's just myself. I'm Shakyamuni Buddha. But if you really want to know how big and vast this body and timelessness of Buddha body is. And then he entered into deep concentration and emitted, here we go again, some people have been liking this. Remember that ray of brilliant light from his forehead that traveled throughout the 10 directions? It's like his body lights up. And touched all his transformation bodies, calling them home to help open the door of the ultimate dimension for the assembly on Mount Giridharakuta. So the light's traveling, It's all light anyway, right? But suddenly this dense world of matter is illumined through Buddha's eye and body as the infinite realm of light that it is. And what everybody sees, the Sangha, i.e. you and me, in the Buddha, all the Buddha lands are illuminated. And these realms are all very well ordered and beautifully adorned. And in each realm was a Buddha. One of the Buddha's transformation bodies, as numerous as the sands of Ganges, teaching the Dharma to great assemblies of Buddhas, disciples, bodhisattvas, and heavenly beings. And when the beam of light reached them in a flash, all these transformation Buddhas returned to Vulture Peak and filled the space all around the mountain. Until this moment, the Buddha's disciple believed the only Buddha that existed was their teacher Shakyamuni. They hadn't yet known that the Buddha is present everywhere, in countless transformation bodies that are always teaching throughout the cosmos. There's a commentary about transformation bodies. I think it's Thich Nhat Hanh. Is that we all have transformation bodies. Is the transformation body all of our activities and our roles are different transformation bodies. So there's the mother Chris, there's the wife Chris, there's the teacher Chris, there's the practitioner Chris, and they're all sort of simultaneously operating. In each one of we each have these different realms that we touch, and we think now I'm here and I'm not there, but actually. I have an anti-transformation body. I have a gardener transformation body. I have, I'm going to go shopping transformation body. We just think, well, there's this and then that and then that, but we're so much more than that. Have I completely lost you? I'll stop in a minute. When all his transformation bodies had arrived, the Buddha simply, this is the most wonderful moment, spread his hands, and the door of the jeweled stupa opened. Just like that, the door is open. What he doesn't say here is one of the things that I love in this sutra is that there's a clunking sound when the lock is unlocked. To me, it feels like one of those sounds, that echoes through the whole universe. It's like you spread your hands and all of a sudden everything falls in place and it goes clunk, clunk. And the door opens. Would you ever have moments like that? Where you feel like everything just falls in place and you can almost hear it or intuitively sense something goes clunk, clunk, and it opens. And you don't even know what opened, and it might close the next minute, but for a moment, something opened and was illuminated. Okay, maybe I have to stop there. It's just getting cool. It goes on, but the door is open. And then there's going to be something that happens where the historical Buddha and the ultimate Buddha come together in the stupa, and the stupa rises up, and then everybody wants to be able to see it. So Buddha rises them all up, and everybody's hovering in the air. In this sense of, could this really be true? And what's going on here? Just what popped in my mind was, you remember during the pandemic, someone reminded me of this recently, where everybody was isolated in their homes, and at a certain time, everybody went outside. Was it 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock or what?
To howl.
And howled together.
Yeah.
I mean, in a certain kind of way, it feels like it was that. Is that we were all isolated and hunkered down, and somehow going out and making the sound together is everybody rose up for a minute and remembered something bigger and connection, and that you weren't alone, and that the world was way more than this lockdown, and it included the lockdown. So I think that it has kind of that kind of quality of it. Maybe you can think of other things that might make you think of that. I don't know if we really have time to go into groups, since I didn't know how to do this shorter and I didn't even get there. But we're already here. The question that arose in my mind is it just, I'm so, that it's earth, we're in the earth dimension, and the air dimension of open sky mind, wide open. 10 directions. Just space is an amazing dimension. And so is earth dimension. I think. I mean, what's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with being a human being? What's that have to do with human beings together on the planet in the earth dimension, spinning in infinite space, while simultaneously at the same time Israel is suffering, Gaza is suffering, bombs are being dropped, we're cooking breakfast. None of it makes any sense. I mean, really. Does any of this make any sense to any of you? I mean, if you really... and this is it. Like, take care of this earth. Take care of yourself. Take care of your bodies. Take care of each other. Because this is it. Where else do you think it is? So maybe we just have a few minutes for anybody who wants to offer any thoughts or comments or laugh or cry or it's really okay. This is really poetic and intuitive. But yeah, Anne.
I want to say one of the things that I'm recalling, and many of us have experienced it, was the first time I was here for the opening of practice.